Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, March 15th, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by Bucknuts contributor and new father, Jonah Booker. I know your baby boy came into the world recently. Congratulations to you out there, Jonah.
Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate it. Glad to be here. Still rolling off lack of sleep, but hey, doesn't matter. There's some important news to talk about here today.
Yeah, you have a baby boy, and I'm waking you up at like 6 a.m. your time out there in the Valley of the Sun in the Phoenix area to do this show. So I'm adding to your sleep deprivation. I want to start off talking about guys like Demetrius Knox that are getting first crack at starting jobs this spring, J-Book, and whether or not they're going to hang on to those jobs. Knox is getting first crack at right guard, and I'm not sure if this is legitimate or if this is like Antonio Underwood getting first crack at the right guard job 3 years ago. So the national championship season in spring ball, Antonio Underwood ran out there with the first team at right guard and stayed there for like the first couple weeks of spring ball. And I don't think the coaches really had any intention of really having him be the starter there. They're just kind of giving him the first crack. So are you buying that Demetrius Knox will be the starter at right guard, or do you think someone else will win that job, J-Book?
I'm not sold, Dave. I think they're just trying to give him first shot seniority there. He was the first guy off the bench during the Fiesta Bowl. Didn't show very well, but I think this is a situation where when spring ball starts, you have to set an initial depth chart. That doesn't necessarily mean that guy is going to be the penciled-in starter come the fall. So they need to start somewhere, and the expectations is Knox starts, but the other guys need to beat him out. I think you're going to see a situation where guys are being rotated, mixed in to see who's going to be able to push him for that position. So I think for now, just to set the initial depth chart, that's what they're looking for. They're going to give Demetrius Knox every opportunity to earn that position. How he does is going to be up to him, and if Coach Stubb can actually develop him and get that nastiness out of him that we saw coming out of high school.
If it's not Knox, who do you think, if you had to pick somebody else who would win that job, who do you think it would be?
If I had to pick, I would go with Malcolm Pridgeon. I mean, I thought Pridgeon was going to be a guy that could challenge Isaiah out of that right tackle, but I'm not sure that they're going to allow that. I think they're really set on Isaiah Wilson being that right tackle spot. So let's see if he can beat Knox out. But you bring in a JUCO offensive lineman from all indications during the winter conditioning and the Fiesta Bowl prep. Pridgeon was starting to really come on. He's, from all indications, he's incredibly strong. He's mature. So I think that's going to be the guy. The key is just getting your 5 best offensive linemen on the field. I know, Pridgeon may be a taller guard, the same as a Michael Jordan, but hey, if he's your best guy, get him on the field, because what we saw from Demetrius Knox in that Fiesta Bowl was embarrassing. The guy wasn't ready to play. He wasn't even getting off the ball at the snap count. Now, obviously, he was thrown into the heat of the fire, but anytime you're always one play away from being a starter. So I'm kind of skeptical on Knox, but you also have a Matthew Burrell who's in the mix. I'm not sure if they're really high on him, but I think it's going to be Malcolm Pridgeon who's really going to push Knox there.
Last week at practice, they're off this week for those that don't know. They had 2 practices last week. They're taking this week off for spring break, and then they will resume next Tuesday, the 21st. And that practice will be open, and we will, at least the first hour will be open. We'll interview Urban Meyer and some other coaches afterward. So last week at practice, Ben Victor was running with the second team. I was like, that's one of those where I saw that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's no way this kid's going to be a backup this year, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the first team receivers were Terry McLaurin, KJ Hill, Paris Campbell. I have to think Ben Victor is going to be a starter this year. J-Book, what's your take?
I think so, too. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, at this point, it's clear that Ben Victor is obviously the most talented wide receiver on the roster as far as physical gifts. Now, it's going to be up to Zach Smith to further develop him and get him ready to go to be a primetime starter. Nobody on that roster right now has his body type, his athleticism, the ability to go up and get that deep ball with his frame, the length. And to me, you're wasting reps not having him running with the first team and developing that chemistry with J.T. Barrett. I mean, how many times did we see this past season where the wide receivers were never on the same page with the quarterback? Now, you're running a brand-new offense with Kevin Wilson. He's going to be implementing a more sophisticated passing attack. So you want to have a guy in Ben Victor who's incredibly raw, incredibly young, but very talented, getting as many reps in that position with J.T. Barrett as possible. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me to have other guys playing ahead of him at this point. The objective is to get points on the board, Dave. Our passing attack was just absolutely atrocious this past, 2 seasons. Ben Victor is a guy that can absolutely help. He's a guy that can absolutely put points up on the board. So for him not being in that first team rotation is just a head scratcher.
At corner, Denzel Ward has one spot as expected, and Damon Arnette is starting at the other spot right now. A couple of veteran guys, even though they're relatively young. I mean, Denzel's a junior, Damon Arnette from the same class, a third-year sophomore. But there's so much talent behind them, younger guys. Kendall Sheffield's not all that young anymore. In fact, he's the same age as those guys. He came out in that 15 class as well. He was a 5-star recruit, obviously played at junior college last year. It's funny to me, he's considered a third-year sophomore on the official roster. I'm thinking, there's probably not a good chance he's going to be here as a fifth-year senior. Probably going to be here as a fourth-year junior. So at corner, do you think, let's focus on Damon Arnette. Do you think Damon Arnette's going to keep that starting job, or do you think maybe Kendall Sheffield, or maybe even one of the freshmen like Jeffrey Okuda or Sean Wade might win that starting job at corner?
Yeah, I think they're same thing with Knox. They need to set the initial depth chart. They're going to give Arnette the benefit of the doubt to start because they know what they have in him. So they're going to give him every opportunity to win that position. Now, I don't think he's going to hold on to that position. I think he will be more of a nickel type corner if they decide to keep him at that position. I think it's going to be Sheffield who eventually wins that job. Sheffield is a guy that can step in immediately and give you an impact player at that position. Ward is going to be locked in at the other position. He's looking like he's going to be the next corner that's NFL bound. I think you're going to have a situation where Jeffrey Okuda is going to be in the mix. I'm not sure how much initially. As a true freshman, I think Okuda is mentally and physically ready to go if they call his number. Now, with Sean Wade, I think they would potentially put him on special teams. If not, give him a red shirt so that they can have him for another year, even though, guys leave for the NFL, after 2 to 3 years. But he needs to put on weight. He's a little thin right now. So depending on how big he gets in this off season, may determine if he's going to redshirt or he's going to be a special teams. But I can't see him initially getting meaningful reps at corner, especially with Ward locked in at the other position. And now you have 3 other guys who can potentially push for the starting job at the other corner. And then the losers of those guys are probably going to be in the nickel. So Arnette's going to start just to set the depth chart, but I think you're going to see a situation where Sheffield may beat him out.
Couple more topics and we'll get you out of here. Middle linebacker, Chris Worley getting first shot there. I tend to think this is going to stick. Now, maybe as Urban Meyer pointed out, they feel like he has the mentality to play middle linebacker, but Urban admitted, we need to make sure his body can withstand that position. So I thought that was very honest and on point from Urban. Your take on middle linebacker, do you like Chris Worley there? Do you think he's going to stick there? And if not, who might beat him out?
Yeah, I'm really skeptical about this, Dave, for the simple fact that when watching Chris Worley, yes, he made, a lot of good plays, but the thing that you notice about Chris Worley is he was always on the ground, meaning that he has a lot of problems with getting off cut blocks as well as getting away from the garbage and the trash as far as blockers. And that was something that Raekwon every once in a while would struggle with, was just getting himself free from the trash. And Quan was a much bigger guy. Chris Worley, he's not, your typical Mike linebacker type size. He may be, and very intelligent as far as the defense, setting the defense, making the calls. his heart, can't be questioned. The guy plays with fire. He plays hard whenever he's in the game. And as Meyer mentioned, nobody knows if his body's going to be able to hold up. The question for me is, will Chris Worley be able to come downhill with bad intentions to knock an offensive lineman back into the backfield to blow something up so other guys can make the play? That's to be determined. That takes a guy with a lot of meat in his bones there to be able to take on those type of blocks. So it's going to be interesting to see. Either way, Worley's going to be one of your backers. If it doesn't work out at the mic, they can always kick him back to his other position, which he already knows. So I think it's one of those situations where they want to have solid leadership in the middle, but it is a gamble because you don't know if he's going to be able to hold up at that position.
Okay, final topic. This is a topic that a lot of Buckeye fans are going back and forth on right now. What do you make of the Ezekiel Elliott situation, Jay Book, with some of the off-field transgressions? Nothing criminal has happened. I mean, he had the investigation for assaulting a woman in Columbus, but the police investigated that. They found nothing. In fact, they caught the girl in a big lie. She's trying to have one of her friends tell the cops that Ezekiel assaulted her, and the friend actually turned the ex-girlfriend in and said she was trying to get me to lie to you guys. So, but it's like one thing after another. He exposed the woman's breast over the weekend in Dallas at the party. She said she was okay with it, but it's just, I know a lot of people are concerned. I want to get your take. Are you concerned about Ezekiel Elliott?
I'm not really concerned, Dave, but at a point you have to say, come on, dude. Like, seriously, just lay low for a bit. I mean, you're doing a little too much right now. I'm sure this is an embarrassing situation for his family, the ambassador, Elliott. They need to have just a talk with him, but I also understand that he is a young, 22-year-old, 21-year-old who's rich, just had $20 million deposited into his bank account. I couldn't imagine if I was that age. I would probably be all over TMZ myself. So I give these guys the benefit of the doubt, but he has to realize that there's cameras everywhere. TMZ is following him everywhere. So he has to be smarter. He can't put himself in a situation to where he's going to be making news. And I tell you what, Dave, I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry Jones ended up giving him the Dez Bryant treatment, where when Dez had his off-the-field issues, what did Dallas do? They hired full-time security to follow him around to keep him out of trouble. And since then, you haven't heard a peep out of Dez Bryant off the field besides his blow-ups and things that happen on the field. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas, because they have so much invested in Ezekiel, has full-time security following him around to make sure that things like this gets nipped in the bud. Somebody that can pull him to the side and say, that's not a good idea. It's a sad situation in society that you have to have a full-time babysitter, but you also have to understand that these guys are young, they love to have a good time. They're rich. Cameras everywhere. I'm sure back in the days, if TMZ existed, a lot of guys, would be exposed more. So it's just a situation where he just needs to grow up. He needs to have that talk with the family to say, hey, you can't keep doing this. But I look for him to, right the ship and continue to move forward and have a successful NFL career.
Great insights, as always, from Bucknuts contributor and new father, more importantly, Jonah Booker. Really appreciate it, Jay Book. You come strong as always. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Take it away, best damn band in the land.